So we have our 5 published assessments, and we'll go through each one of these in at least a little bit of detail. And we'll talk about some of the features that we noted as we were evaluating these, as well as what the overall grades were that we assigned to each one of them. So we'll go through a traditional private sector defined benefit plan, a safe harbor defined contribution plan, and so those are both under the current system. And then we have the USA Retirement Funds Reform Proposal. This would be the Senator Tom Harkin's proposal. And then we'll also talk about 2 public plans systems that are out there. There's the South Dakota retirement system, and then what's being referred to as the shared risk model in New Brunswick, which is available in different places in the province of New Brunswick. The concepts here are not necessarily U.S.-centric, so it's intentional here that we would not just look at U.S.-based plans. Obviously, the New Brunswick model would be Canadian. So, you know, the intent here is that looking at universally across retirement systems, whether in the U.S. or outside of the U.S., that these principles are things that should apply across the board. So what do the AGES principles do? So essentially they give us a framework for looking at retirement plans and systems, and they could be public systems, they could be private employer-based systems, and really a mechanism of evaluating those systems as well as, again, alternative proposals regarding retirement income policy. So the first principle is alignment, and the second principle is governance. The third principle is efficiency, and the fourth is sustainability. The goal here is really to introduce those principles into policy discussions and into the overall thought process as we have folks from many different backgrounds thinking about how retirement systems could evolve in the future. We think these principles are an important thing to take into consideration and consider how they might be factored into designing a new type of retirement program. The way the assessment process really works here is that we would take a particular system or proposal and we would go through the various features of it and identify under each one of those 4 principles positives and negatives. No system is perfect, so certainly there's going to be a mixture of positives and negatives, and there's always a balancing between various factors that needs to be considered. So as we weigh those positives and negatives, we would develop then a letter grade for each one of the 4 principles. And then at the end, once we've gone through each one of the 4 principles and we have our 4 letter grades, we'll weigh those and develop an overall letter grade for the system. And you can see those in the assessments. I will say here that there's not a scientific approach to how we do the weighting, and obviously there are certain qualitative factors that you need to consider here in addition to the quantitative. So if you're looking for sort of a numerical rubric that we use, there isn't one, but we do try to ensure through peer review and governance process around this that the systems that we're evaluating are all being looked at in a very consistent way, so that 2 proposals that have similar degrees of merit would end up with a similar letter grade.